illustration here from Timothy, 1 Timothy 4, 1-2. Now the Spirit explicitly says that in the latter times, some will depart from the faith, paying attention to deceitful spirits and the teachings of demons, through the hypocrisy of liars whose consciences are seared. Now, after a battle many moons ago in the olden days, if you were to have something cut or severed, one of the ways which they'd kind of fix that would be kind of cauterize the wound, kind of sear it. You'll grab a hot iron or something and put it where the wound is, and you'd end up with something looking a bit like that. That's not from searing. And here, the Bible is saying that their consciences have been seared, like a hot iron pressed against them. And when you've had a hot iron pressed against you, or you've had a scar or something that's healed up, when you touch it or you scratch it, what do you feel? Yeah, nothing. And so here there are consciences that are cauterized, that are blocked, that are seared. So no amount of scratching, poking or prodding will make any difference, because there's nothing inside that's alive. And so there might be some people who, for a time you speak to them, and who will respond, but eventually we see no life and nothing in them, and their consciences are seared. It is not as though the Word of God has failed. Okay, as Christians we believe this very strongly. The Word of God has not failed. When we preach the gospel, when we preach the truth, the Word of God has not failed. People have closed their ears and hardened their hearts to the Word so that they can't hear it anymore. So that all they can deal with is soft, icy preaching, which will do nothing for them, that will not convict them of their sin, that will not turn them back to Christ, but will turn them back to the idol that they have created in their mind. Look at the Scriptures, is what he says to you. Look, he's quoting again and again. In Isaac, you'll see, will be called, and this time I will come and Sarah will have a son. He quotes the Old Testament to show that the Old Testament God and the New Testament God aren't different gods. They're the one same God. He hasn't changed. He's a God of vengeance in the Old and New Testament. He's a God of grace in the Old and New Testament. He's a God of love in the Old and New Testament. He's a God of hatred in the Old and New Testament. He is unchanging in His very divine essence, and His Word will not fail. It endures forever. And when the Word of God came to you, and you believe the gospel if you're a Christian, it's the gospel that saves. And you will never be led astray if you believe it and you don't turn aside from it, like the Galatians did, who laid aside justification by faith, salvation by faith, and turned instead to the law. The simple ticking of boxes which will never save anyone, that has no power to save, that only Christ can accomplish. And so we as Christians are believers in the Word of God, and that it will never fail, fall, drop off, be cast away, wherever the case may be.